Ladies and gentlemen, today's date is the 16th of June. Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm in front of Chicago Barbershop number 3. It is a fundraiser for Ross Mercarini. I think, yeah, he's running for sheriff. As a matter of fact, I think coming down this street here is the proprietor, the owner, Mr. Charles Spencer, coming from a hard day's work at his place of business. We're going to have Ross. And ladies and gentlemen, this Ace. Hello, Ross the Boss. How you doing, man?
I like your shirt.
Well, thank you.
That's a great shirt. Let me see that. It's cool.
It's cool. Okay.
I'm sorry. I was at the Black Film Festival doing my job. Yeah. It's a good crowd. They're kicking it off right now. They're kicking it off, the film festival. It's a good little crowd in there. Yoshi. This is the most interesting venue.
I'm glad you like it.
Very interesting. Right. Nice to see you, thanks. How are you? Thank you for being here. Good to see you. Hi. Good to see you. Thank you. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Great venue.
It's Malia Cohen's sister.
Luke's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I know.
Well, singing mine too.
Great.
I caught it. I got it.
Conspiracy. It's a conspiracy right here.
Yeah, I got you, man. This is the leadership. That's it. That's it. I appreciate that. That's historical. What's up with it, baby? You know I got to get these politicians, baby. I got to do it.
Yeah, Amy's been doing a great job.
Thank you.
Hey, so get one me and Stank.
Yeah.
No, what's the song?
Oh, yeah. Which is on? You want to put the program up? That's right. That's right.
I know you got it.
Aids agreed to that. Right. I believe it. Thank you very much.
All right.
How are you? Nice to see you too. Hi, how are you? Thank you very much. You gonna get a ride in this? Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Hi. Charlie, good to see you again.
I did your hand yesterday.
Ken, Cheryl Davis, Film Auditorium, Michael Johnson, Leroy King, Jeff and Sandy Morey. Can I get everybody's attention? Jeff and Sandy Morey, Steve Nakajo, Patrick Zito, and my barbers. I want to thank my barbers for being patient. Supervisor Mercarini has been supervisor for 2 terms. One of the things that I've heard him say frequently is there is a lack of will to accomplish what's important. And we need someone who is going to demonstrate that will in the sheriff's office, and we need someone before you leave who's going to continue to demonstrate that will in District 5. There are a lot of problems, and they all boil down to will. There's the money. You look at the America's Cup. The city decided they wanted the America's Cup. They found the money. They found the way. There's money. There's political ability, but there's no will. So to use your word, will, we need will going forward. Please welcome.
It's great to see everybody on a Friday afternoon and probably one of the hippest barbershops around San Francisco. I want to thank Eric for organizing this. More importantly, I want to thank Charles Spencer and the staff of the barbershop here for allowing us to host this. And I want to thank all the co-sponsors for putting this on. I greatly appreciate it. I've been honored to have a number of events like this, house parties and stuff around the city, but by far this is the most innovative venue that I've been at. And I hope there are sufficient pictures of people in barber chairs, maybe holding up a sign, whatever. But it's definitely the best groomed crowd I've been in front of. So thank you for getting all dolled up for me. I don't know. Listen, I'm honored to be running for the seat of sheriff. This is, I know, probably a little bit unusual to some people because the most common response I get from people is they thought I was going to run for mayor. And that was on my radar as well, too. But it came as a strong surprise to me that Sheriff Mike Hennessy, after nearly 31 years of office, has decided to retire. And we haven't had an open race for sheriff in nearly 32 years. And that concerned me and it really throttled me in this way. Sheriff Hennessy has probably been the most dynamic and progressive sheriff, not just in the state of California, but in the United States. In my opinion, he's done more for black and brown people in San Francisco than, frankly, any other elected official has. And I've known that very well even before I was elected supervisor of this district because of my 9 years working in the district attorney's office before I was elected, of just Sheriff Hennessy's innovative ability to marry the bookend of the power of redemption with what Smart on Crime has been, and focusing that in the kind of communities in public housing and communities that have been chronically disadvantaged in a way where he would help answer the question of what it means to try to dissuade people from repeating a life of crime, but at the same time calling attention to the questions of poverty and economic inequity. And you got to love that an elected official who's probably been the most understated elected official in the history of San Francisco, at least in recent memory, but who is by far the longest serving elected official in the history of San Francisco. And in my time as supervisor, you all know, because we've all worked together on many different levels, but chronically, consistently, in trying to take back our streets in a community policing kind of way, in a way that empowers at the same time. And that approach has been driven by all of you. I'm motivated and inspired by what we've been able to accomplish. It's word well traveled around the city and county of San Francisco, what's happened here in the Fillmore in the Western Addition, Japantown, Hayes Valley, and surrounding area, about progress and improvement that has been made based on community-based programs and based on an approach that aims to rehabilitate and tries to enterprise and rejuvenate in communities that have been well underserved. Hennessy's gotten that inside the jail system. I cannot bear to think that when he retires, that that legacy would not be continued. So it's consistent with my outlook of the years that I've put in, both working in law enforcement and I as a supervisor, would like to do everything I can to build on that foundation and modernize the Sheriff's Department, and I will do just that. I believe it's essential that we recognize that nowhere in the city charter, in the city's constitution, other than the fact of managing the jail system, which has about 2,000 pretrial and inmate population per day, 2,000 in our San Francisco jail system, and protecting the courts and the government buildings, does it say anywhere for the sheriff that you have to innovate, manage, or administer, or invent reentry programs? He invented that. He decided to put in the first charter high school in the United States in our jail system. He was lampooned by even people within San Francisco, but certainly throughout the state and a country, that this was a warm and fuzzy approach that would do nothing to try to stem the tide of crime or people's propensity from committing it. He's now proven them completely wrong when you have the most conservative counties and their sheriffs and law enforcement systems in the state of California are now replicating exactly what he's doing. He was the first in the United States to actually institute a program about veterans, not just from Vietnam vets, but now Iran and Iraq vets. I mean, Afghanistan, God, Iran. Afghanistan and Iraq vets that are coming out who not only have fallen into maybe a life of crime, but who also need the kind of mental health support that they haven't received, and to do so through the jail system as well. That's a level of innovation that we cannot allow die in the vine. So I plan to build on that. I also plan to recognize the fact that many people don't know that there's over 800 men and women who are sworn peace officers who went through the police academy, many of who went through the San Francisco Police Academy and around California, who would like to be part of the larger goal and program of protecting and enhancing public safety in San Francisco. And I believe that we should be able to make a strong case that allows them to do just that. And while the police department is suffering from a rapid amount of retirement, the attrition rate, the deputy sheriffs can contribute to helping take on some of the low-level staffing needs and help in the larger way of the police department. I just want to remind folks that when I was really crying out for foot patrols, which is something I made a little bit of a name for about 5 years ago, and Mayor Newsom wouldn't give me those foot patrols, or the police chief wouldn't give me those foot patrols at the time, and I ended up legislating them, I insisted that they give me the deputy sheriffs. I said, give me the deputy sheriffs. They want to do it, they can do it, and it's a turf issue as to why they weren't really allowed to. But it begs the question that when the need calls for, we should be treating things, I think, obviously in a more strategic way of how we can collaborate with our criminal justice partners in a more collective manner. And it hasn't happened. But when we started the reentry council in San Francisco, something I legislated 4 years ago almost, where we put the public defender and the DA, the police department, adult and juvenile probation, the sheriff department, and the fleet of CBOs with 30% of the members on the reentry council, people who are formerly incarcerated, and design in laser focus programs that we have to establish. So we do everything we possibly can to help people so that they don't recidivate. That's exactly the level of where we step up our game. But we have to do it in a way that is much more robust. Because most of the reentry programs in San Francisco, they're not general fund funded. They're grant funded. And they can go away with the snap of the fingers by federal, state, or the foundations that decide the money just dries up. So what needs to be pulpit right now in this transitional period is San Francisco's commitment on rehabilitation and doing everything it can to make our neighborhoods as safe by empowering people who are inclined potentially to maybe repeat an offense, but hopefully we can intervene in a way that puts them on a path that would not. Because eventually, unless somebody's a lifer, and we have no lifers in county jails, they all return. So if they're going to return, then why isn't that we would not be that much more, I think, effective in giving people access to housing, to job training, to the job placement, to the kind of support system when they have suffered whatever the substance abuse that had put them under in the first place, and be able to be much more effective in accounting for the program's ability to deliver results. Now, Hennessy has done that. We could do better, though, in San Francisco. Our recidivism rate is over 60% here. It's actually one of the lowest in the state of California, but 60% is
Work
high.
all like hell
And if you-
to get you elected as sheriff, because I know you're a good job. But I'll never forget when you recognized Mary Rogers. And he said the two greatest people in San Francisco was Mary Rogers and LeVar King.
All right.
It means a lot to me. Thank you. It's very sweet.